Hello guys, welcome to the new video tutorial on Angular. So in the last video tutorial, we guys have seen how we can create the reactive forms and how we can able to bind them along with the TypeScript file. So as far as the Angular form concerned, we have two different forms available right there. One is template driven form and other one is a reactive forms module. Well, when it comes to the actual and proper implementation of binding the values to the TypeScript in Angular, 99% we are using the Angular reactive forms. So validation, when it comes to the validation of a Angular, but obvious we should have to go with an Angular reactive form. So here we are going to check one example to create a form, and along with the form we guys are going to check with the validation. So form I'm going to create right here live in front of you, and validation also we are going to check, so that may takes more time. So instead of working with this, I'm going to divide the same task into the part 1 and part 2. In a part 1 we are going to design our HTML section, and at the same time we are going to create the reactive forms. In a part 2 we are going to add the validators to that, and we are going to return them along with the validations at a runtime. So this is what the forms we are going to get. Let me show you this. So this is the form we guys are going to create. This is the form. So we have to print one title, then here one image, and this kind of output we are going to receive, and depends on the date of birth, the age factor will be comes in picture. So this age will automatically get calculated. We are going to check how we are going to run with this. So at the same time we have to write with this along with your HTML and Bootstrap classes. So let us work with them one by one. So firstly I have to print with this header. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get back to my app.component.html. So here I'm going to write div. Okay, this div will be having the h2 of reactive forms validation, right? And here I'm going to provide a classes. Let us say this is container fluid to assigns with 100% width, then bg gradient, and this is bg dark, and we are going to put that text in center. I wanted to write the text color as a void, and padding I'm going to give here as a 2. Okay, let me check with this here in the output. So this is how it looks like. Well, that's done. Now next container we are going to form the 50% of this container. We are going to put an image, and here the input along with the form names. So let us do with this. So here one more div I'm going to create with the class called as container, and as it's going to have two different divs inside it, so I'm going to mention first that is margin from top. Let us say it as like 3. Then I'm going to write some paddings over there. Okay, padding we are going to remove later. Instead of writing padding right now, I'm going to mention some height using some inbuilt CSS. Right, then we are going to write a border to this. So border, I'm going to say border 3, and border color with the bg dark, or like we can use the default border as well. And I'm going to write the rounded border right there. Okay, so let me create one CSS class to assign the height to that. So I'm going to write it to the container, and let us say the height is 450 pixels. So it is going to assign to this, and you guys can see this is how it looks like, a container and rounded and the border. Now 50%, or here we are going to use 40%, and here 60% part I'm going to use. For this I'm going to create two divs again. So this is div for images. So here I'm going to write the class name as column, let us say this is 5, and remaining -12 we are going to assign to the next column. And here I'm going to set one more div for my rest of forms information and data. So it is column 7, and right now just to identify them I'm going to change the background colors, and we are going to provide the images to that. So for this I'm going to write the background color as bg dark, or we are going to use the bg success to just make them identified. So right now we haven't given any height to this because it's not displaying flex. So let us write here flex and display of flex so that it can appears right there. So this is our second div. For this div we are going to write our margin and padding 0. So let us write that padding 0 and margin 0. Right, so here we are concluded with our parent design. Now the next step that I wanted to do is to assign the image right here. Now let us search for the image. So here I'm going to search the image as students. I want student registration form, so I will go to the images, and this image I have used. So let me just select with this image, and I'm going to copy the image address right here. So let us copy the image address. Let us get back here, and to this div I'm going to write a class called as background, and through the CSS we are going to provide these classes right here. So let us write that class background, and inside it we are going to provide the background image in a URL of this address. And I don't want this width, so I'm just going to use this. And now let's save this and let us check how does it looks like. Well, okay, here we are. So you guys can see this is how it looks like. So I have to write the background positions and cover so that it can appear correctly right there. So next step I'm going to say here background size as cover and the background position at the center. Okay, so it's fulfilled to our div right there. Now in the next step here I'm going to assign some paddings and all the stuff together. So here I'm going to write with this, let me remove that, and here one more content I'm going to add. So as I wanted to add right now, so as per our design, so this background we guys are going to change this. If you cannot able to change also, that's fine, that's not a problem. Next step is to be works with these inputs. Okay, so these inputs are already put in like three columns we got created in a row. So I'm going to use some bootstrap classes, and this heading also we are going to write. So let us write first heading. Let us say heading in my h3 of student registration form, and but obviously it's in center, so I'm going to write a class as text center. Check how does it looks like. So it's printing fine student registration form, but h3 looks like a very big font, so I'm going to change it to h4. Now let us check. So h4 is fine. So we guys are going to add some padding to this so that it can visible correctly. So I'm going to add padding as 3, and now it's visible correctly with all our borders and everything. Now the next step that we guys are going to do is to add our information, and to add that information I'm going to create one more div, and inside this div, as I'm having the three different elements right there, so I'm going to provide a class called as flex. Okay, display as flex, and gap in between this is as a 1. Right, now let us add them. So first div which belongs to the class of column 4, because our page structure is with the size of column 12. So if I wanted to put 3 elements, so 4 4 4 3 elements I can able to put easily. And here I'm going to write input. Okay, first we are going to write a label. Okay, label from our class. Okay, label, let us say, which is what for first name, and we are going to provide some bootstrap classes to this. So here I'm going to write a class as form label. This is the name of class. And for the input, okay, this is input type text, and here I'm going to write a class as form control. Now let us check how does it appear. So this is the label, and the first name it got appears. Now I'm going to copy this div 2 times here, okay, to add the rest of values. You guys can see first name added. Now let us change the data. So here I'm going to say this is last name and this is middle name. Right, so last name, middle name added, but as per our structure we have provided some placeholders also. Let us write the placeholder for each and every inputs. So here I'm going to add for everyone, at least for the placeholder. So I'm going to be select to the new line as placeholder, and for this I'm going to for the first name I'm going to mention John, middle name as Peter, and let us say it's optional. And here the last name, okay, I guess we have misspelled with this, so let me write that correct. The order we guys have not followed well. So first name, middle name and last name, and this is Smith. Right, now let's check how does it appear. So Peter, that is optional. This is Smith, everything is fine. Now similar to this, we guys are going to assign some CSS for our this div so that the gap in between that H1 and this we are able to conclude. So let me get back here, and to this div I am going to mention the margin from top is 3 and some gap is right now. Now same thing, I'm going to add the rest of data, that is date of birth, age and email address. Now let us copy this entire div where we have three inputs. So I'm going to copy this again and paste it here, and I'm going to change that value. So first is what date of birth, so I'm going to say DOB, and this input type must be what date, and for the date of birth we shouldn't have any placeholder. All right, next is what age, and this must be in number, and it's disabled because we guys are going to copy this and we guys are going to form this at a runtime. So I'm going to say this is read only property, right? And the next one is email address, and for the email address I'm going to say the input type is email, and the placeholder is, let us say, john@mail.com. You guys can see we have this 6 inputs available with respect to this data. So as it's input only, we cannot able to change the information. Here we can change, here also we can change, here also we can change, and here also we guys can able to change the value. Well, the next step that we guys are going to do is to add the rest information. What is the rest information? We have to select, one is for gender, then course and fees. Okay, let us add this information right there. So again, one more time, I'm going to copy this div where I have 3 elements right there. So let us copy and paste. So first one is what for gender, and this is for select. So I'm going to use some bootstrap classes for select. I'm going to say select, okay, class as form select. All right, and here we are going to write our option. So first option, that is default selected, and the option name is what select. Okay, the second option is for your, let's say we are going to provide the values as male and the data is as male, and the third one option is for female. Okay, we are going to change the value also as female. Now the same I required for this courses also. So let us write in course, and in the course I'm going to mention mean stack and mean stack. So let us write with this. So here that is select, this is mean stack, and this is mean stack. Okay, I'm going to change the value here as mean and here as mean. Let us check how does it appears with. So we have to select here available as per our data, and we have to write with the fees part to the next. So here I'm going to mention, instead of email address, this is what for feeds, and your input type must be a number, and let us say the placeholder 2500 something. All right, now let us check with this. So this is how it appears, you guys can see. Now we have to add a submit button at the center right here. So let us add the submit button. So I'm going to write it to the entire div. Okay, class as, let us say, container, and inside this class I'm going to mention input type as submit, and this class belongs to button of button primary. All right, now let us check. So this is how it appears. So I'm going to add some CSS classes to that. So here I'm going to create one CSS. Let us say this is custom button, and for this I'm going to write to came at the center, margin from top and bottom I'm going to mention 15 pixels, and from left and right let us say 50 pixels. If you want, we can change it, depends on runtime. Again, at the same point I'm going to mention the width, let us say 80% to increase. Now let me check how does it appears. So I have to assign this class to my div. So I'm going to mention here custom button. All right, so width is not get appear. So to assign that width right here, what we can do is width of 100%. Let me write it. Okay, width of 100% will be of more. So I'm going to mention width of 75. And now to assign them from left and right, I'm going to change here. Let us say put it as 8 pixels. I guess we have to add more. So I'm going to write 90 pixels. Let us put combinedly as 100. Alright, now this is the form we got created. Now I have to assign the background color to this form, and to assign the background color, okay, this main parent is at here. This is the main parent, right? So I'm going to mention here the one single class called as background one. This is another class that we have to create. So here I'm going to create the background one class, and I'm going to say this is background color. Let us say light blue. Let's check how does it appears. Okay, so we have to assign some padding and margin so that it can able to fix up with this, and it should be stick to our data. Well, to stick to our data, I have to assign the padding. I have to remove the padding from here. Okay, remove this. Right, so left part is still pending. So here I'm going to mention default margin for this is 0 pixels. Still it is not working, so let's write it as 0. Still it is not working. Now let us add padding to this. Padding, let us say 20 pixels. Okay, now it's working fine, but still we have a gap right here, and I think this gap is just because of this. Okay, let us assign the width as 100% to. Okay, 100% it is sticking to that entire page, so I'm going to remove them to the 70%. Still not working, so let us put it to the 50%. Okay, so let us write the 60%. We required a little bit more, so I'm going to assign here 58%. 58% will be of more again, so you can able to fix it like this. 50.1. okay, 0.5. Alright, now it's getting perfect as you guys can see. So if you want, you can change the background colors of this. So I'm going to change the background color. Let us put, as we have black in inputs, check how does it appears with. Alright, so we can able to change this color to the white so that it can appear well. So I'm going to change for label. Okay, this is what for label class, and this color must be of white. Alright, so all labels are white in color, and for H4 also I'm going to define the same. Okay, so this is the form we got created by changing our the 4 colors and background colors, and now we have to create them along with the reactive form. Okay, well, one thing here I can feel that button submit is not in a center, so I have to add more left and right padding. Let us put it at 20 pixels. 130. Alright, now it's in a center, and from top and bottom I am going to assign 25 so that some gap right there can be maintained. Okay, now this is the form we got created. The very basic initial step that we guys will be having is to create this form, okay, into your reactive form model. And to make that done, what you guys need to do, first you have to be make sure whether in your app.module.ts reactive forms is imported or not. If it is imported, then and then only we can able to form with this. So I have already imported. Now I will get back to my form, and this entire div is focused on a form, right? So this is where it is going to close. So I'm going to start my form tag after this. So here I'm going to start my form tag, and I'm going to close the before closing of this div. So let me close this form tag right there. So we have a form, and into the form we have all this data. Now to assign this or to bind this form to our TypeScript variable, what I'm going to do is to write the binding of form group, and I'm going to say my variable is a registration form. So this variable we have to create, as it turns into the error because we haven't created this variable into our TypeScript file. So I have to create it to the TypeScript file, or instead of writing the registration form, I'm just going to mention the name as form. Now let me write it to the TypeScript file here. So I'm going to create this form equals to new form group, and here we guys are going to assign the control. Now to assign the control, as we guys have seen to the last video, you have to add the form control name property for each and every input. Okay, I'm going to add it combinedly right here. So here to the new line I'm going to add, or like I'm going to add it using alt property. So let me select this one. Okay, I'm pressing the alt to change at a multiple line at a same position. So I'm just pressing the alt right there. So if you guys want to use this, you can use it like the same. All right, so here also and here also. Yes, one more will left, that is select and course and fees. Okay, this is what for course and this is what for fees. Now I'm going to hit an enter and I'm going to add a property of form control name and that value. So let us write that value for each and every input. So for the first input I am going to mention the property as first name. Okay, for the second here I'm going to use middle name. For the third one, let us use last name. And for the fourth one, let us use here as DOB. Here as age. Okay, here as let us say email. For this select input, I'm going to use as gender. And for this input, let us input as course. For this one, let us input as fees. Now this same variable, you have to bind it to your component constructor here when we are creating a form. So first variable is what? First name, and that is of new form control. And the initial value, I don't want to set anything, so I'm going to set null. Now the same type of variables I have to create it. The same for middle name, last name, then we have date of birth, then what we'll have here. Okay, I guess after date of birth we have age, email. So let me change the variable first. So this is what for middle name. Okay, this is what for last name. This is what for date of birth. This is age and this is email. Now I required three variables. Okay, I have given the inputs. This is gender, course, and fees. So let us select them. So this is what for gender. This is what for course and what for fees. Alright, so everything is settled. So you can set an initial value for your gender and course, because once we assign, the default select will be getting selected. So I'm going to write here default property as select, default property as select. So when the page is getting load, so it will automatically set it to the select. Now we got created a form. And the next step that we guys have to do is to provide the validations. To this part one, we guys are going to be stop at here. Just we got created forms with the design. And one more thing that I have to do here is to assign that submit button with the validations enabled and disabled, that we guys are going to check in the part 2. And in the part 2 of this video, we are going to assign these kind of the validations, and we are going to check how we can able to change this by selecting the date of birth, how we can able to assign the age. I hope you guys have understand how we have created this design right here in front of you. If you guys have liked this video, please give us the thumbs up and stay tuned for the part 2 to provide the validation on Angular Reactive.